So let's jump into it. Oh, cool, I'm being recorded. That's cool. So why add humor? If you will pay attention, you will notice that I am including humor throughout this presentation. And we're going to test everything that I am saying throughout the presentation. So not only am I giving you this presentation, I am also showing you how humor can lend itself to helping your presentations and your speeches in this way. Number one, it engages the audience. This thing is going to work out perfectly for the rest of the presentation. I just know it. It engages the audience. So if you happen to be a presenter who has a grandiose audience, either on Zoom or on the stage, as the presenter starts to talk, if you are not engaging to your audience, you will quickly lose them, especially in Zoom. In this virtual world, people can be doing 100 other things, and you want to keep them engaged. And humor is a beautiful way to do that. The next thing that it does is it allows you to create a bond and a rapport with the audience. What does that mean? That means that the individuals, even though they may not know you, they may feel connected to you. It helps you break the ice, so to speak. I always say that I don't meet strangers, I meet potential friends. And it's because I tend to be a pretty humorous person. I love to make people laugh. And in that way, I always create instantaneous bonds with people. In every single workshop that I've done, near the end, I'll always say, so how many of you guys will go out to coffee with me? And everybody always raises their hands. It's because I've already made them laugh. So it creates a beautiful bond with your audience. Next, what it does is it keeps them engaged, and it also keeps them energized. A merry heart does good like a medicine. Laugh and the whole world laughs with you, maybe even at you. But it keeps them engaged with you and it keeps them energized. If you're laughing, there's chemicals that build up in the brain. And those chemicals, serotonin is what the chemical is called, it just keeps you energized. It keeps you happy. It builds joy inside of you. Humor does that. And of course, we want joy, we want energy, and we want engagement in our presentations. Next, what it does is it creates a relaxed atmosphere and environment. Things are so crazy out there in the world. You may have been coming from work, you may have been coming from your families, there may have been some level of stress that people end up dealing with. And I often have that. I'm a D&I trainer for my company, and people often coming into those situations and they're stressed. There's quite a bit of conflict. There are things that they have to explain during that session that are not so positive. So I use humor to create a relaxed environment right off the bat. Because when you do that, it creates an environment that is the most conducive for learning, for listening, and for receiving. And as a trainer within my company, I've received the highest marks. And it's because even though there's no humor, there is zero humor in the D&I presentation that they've given to us to facilitate and share with fellow employees. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do a presentation with absolutely no humor. But the ones that I've done, and I did over 30 of them last year, had the highest marks among 30 trainers. No, more than that. Nah, just over 30. There's like 32 or 33 of us global trainers within my company. I had the highest marks. And we're presenting the same material. I just happen to use humor. So humor does every single one of these things. And I have an opportunity to watch it at work every single solitary time I get a chance to teach. It's a good thing. And again, if you have any questions as we go, please stop me so that I will know, because now I'm looking at the presentation and I don't want to miss anybody's questions. Now, if you're thinking, look, lady, I'm not funny. I wasn't born funny. I wasn't born with a funny bone. I don't do that funny stuff. Relax. We're all funny. So I would say to you, yes, you are. Every single person on this call is funny. Everybody is funny, because you're funny when you don't feel like there's any judgment or fear. Where do we do that at? Two places. We do it in the shower because nobody's watching. Nobody will care if I don't sound like Mariah Carey in the shower. Nobody will care. But I guarantee you, I'm hitting every high note, even the ones that are not in any of her songs. So I can be free and funny in the shower because there's nobody in there with me that'll say anything about me. And we can be funny around our family and our friends because once again, we're not worried about judgment. If you think of yourselves in that same relaxed atmosphere, you too can be funny, and it never fails. In these workshops, people who originally thought that they were not funny, they realize that there is some level of funny to them. We just need to find your style. And we're going to talk about that here in just a moment, what everyone's particular style is. And everybody's going to know after this particular workshop. So now if you're thinking to yourself, okay, lady, I got you. Maybe I am funny, but I don't know where to find funny. Okay, I'm going to help you with that. Where do we find some funny? There's lots of places where we can find it. Okay, and if you can't find it, create it. How do you do that? Go to Google. If you're looking for a topic, like today, it was a humorous workshop. So a couple of weeks ago, when I first did this workshop, I Googled particular topics and I came up with some really funny images. You've seen them all throughout. This was one of them. I tried looking at the bright side. It hurt my eyes. Grumpy cat. It's a funny image. I just Googled it. So if you can't find any, just create some. And you can create some also by telling jokes. Everybody knows jokes. Yolanda, I don't know jokes. Google it. Google jokes on the particular topic that you are looking for. I had to do, okay, no lie. There were individuals within my company who wanted to do a presentation and they wanted to do an icebreaker. They told me to come in and do the icebreaker. And they said they wanted it to be not funny. And I was like, okay, you're going to have to explain because that's a contradiction in terms. They said, we want you to tell jokes that are not funny, but they're so not funny, they're funny. So what I did was I went out there and I Googled not funny jokes. Do you know how many not funny jokes there are out there? Why did the chicken cross the road? Because on that side was a KFC. I know you're laughing. I was like, it's not funny, right? But I used it as the icebreaker and people cracked up. So tell some jokes. Even if they're not funny jokes, it will still create some laughter and it'll bring some funny into your presentation. And I want you, when you're doing this, to consider both people who are visual and auditory. So you notice that I'm speaking some funny, but I'm also including some visuals for people who are visual learners. You're going to have both in the audience. And if you're thinking, well, how in the world do I do that when I'm in front of people on a stage? We're going to talk about a particular style of funny that has to do with the physical. And when you are using body language to make things funny, trust me, people will think it's funny. Just small things will make people smile for no reason. And it really does lend itself into your particular presentation. Now we get into some fun stuff. How to present you humorously. And I need you to realize if you've never done this before, you're fine. It's okay. Even if you're making this face like, okay, I'm fine. She's going to make me be humorous. It's fun. Everything is fine. The very first thing that you need to do is figure out exactly what your style is, because everyone has a different style of humor. And I usually save it until the end, but people always say this. You could also cross styles, and that's okay. I have several different humorous styles, and I'm going to share which ones I am as we go through the list. But once you figure out what your style is, knowing is half the battle. You have to work that particular style. Now, let's find out what your style is. I'm going to go through each of the different styles that you may find when it comes to presenting yourself humorously. And I want you to take note of every single one of these, because every single person falls into one of these categories. Trust me on that. So let us start with the physical humor. I just described the physical one just then. It's what people do when they use their bodies as a funny thing to do. It's also referred to as slapstick. And this style of humor involves physicality. It can be anything from clowns, you see them dressed up in makeup and a red nose for the visual effect, to mimes who do the little hands. And it could be just your face. Somebody said in one of my workshops, I just use my face in order to make a point and make it funny. You can do that too. But whatever physical humor you use, if you are the person that loves to use your body, use your face, use your hands, even use the environment. My environment is always funny. I'm always including something that is funny to the person that is looking. Now, people said a lot of things about my llama during the last workshop, so I hope you guys are loving my llama here. But anything physical, anything slapstick, that is a particular kind of style. Next is self-deprecating or sarcastic. A lot of comedians use this one. They poke fun at themselves. And while they're poking fun at themselves, they're making the audience laugh. So some of my favorite comedians do this, but they're the butt of the joke and they're rewarded with a laugh. And it's also very, very popularized with memes. So on this meme, when people ask me how my life is going, that is the epitome of self-deprecating right there, or sarcastic. The grumpy cat is one of the most sarcastic, humorous memes that you see out there. So if you Google grumpy cat, he never, ever, ever breaks a smile, but he is always sarcastic with his tone, always. There's also another one. There's this grandma on a cartoon that is always saying really, really sarcastic things, but she's hilarious. One of the memes I saw is, you know, when she comes to work and she looks at her boss and says, "What do you mean how I'm doing? I'm at work, aren't I?" And it's her face and it's the thing that she does and it's her voice, all self-deprecating, sarcastic. That is a particular style, and it is humorous. Next is deadpan. So deadpan or dry humor, it is delivered with a straight face and it is monotone. If you are the type of person that does not smile, and I've seen a couple of people who have been funny, but they've not broken a smile. And you may think to yourself, if I don't smile, how can I be funny? It's a style. And I had the privilege of coaching someone year or two back before COVID, where he said to me, "I'm not funny. I'm not funny. My wife said I needed a coach and I'd like to stay married. So she likes you. She's in Toastmasters with you. She said you can turn anybody funny. Go ahead and make me funny or whatever." So I talked to his wife and his wife was like, "He's hilarious. He's just got a dry sense of humor. You have to tap into that." And I said, "Yeah, I got that when he didn't smile when I talked to him." But as we practiced his style and helped him understand that he didn't have to change him to be funny, what he needed to do was to operate and function in his style. And that's exactly what he did. And he ended up going on to win the district humorist speech contest. And he never broke a single smile during his entire speech. His whole thing was, so I guess now I got to make y'all laugh, right? I got to be funny. My wife tells me that I'm not funny, and said, "Yeah, well, you must have liked that you married me." I mean, you know, the whole thing was just one big episode in hilarity, but he never broke a smile, and it worked. He won because people were cracking up at the hilarity coming out of this straight face. So if you happen to be deadpan, if you happen to have dry humor, if you happen not to smile, it's a style, and you can still be funny, and you can win the humorous speech contest with it. Who knew? Next one is surreal. This one is a little bit different. So this style of humor can be weird. It can seem irrational and it can seem illogical, almost too far ahead of the funny. If you have seen Monty Python, if you haven't, you can Google that. Or if you've seen the cartoon, The Far Side. And if you haven't, Google that. Monty Python or The Far Side. The humor it's just illogical. It doesn't make sense that it should be funny, but it is. On one such cartoon, it showed a cow chipping another cow out of the ice. And it said how ice cream was first discovered. Get it? Frozen ice, milk, ice cream. It's goofy. I'm telling you, it's goofy. It's illogical. It shouldn't make sense, but it is totally a style of humor. And The Far Side has sold millions of comics out there. So Google those two things if you need an example of surreal. But there are comedians, there are people who present humor in a way that goes a little bit beyond the norm. And that's just their style and it works for them. Next, it is going to be, what is next? It is improvisation, I believe is the next one. Oops. I love it when presentation does exactly what you need it to do. It's improvisation. Yes, it is. So this is comedy without a plan. This is one of the things that I do really well. I don't need a script in order to be funny. I like just kind of coming off the cuff. So if you've happened to see humor in a show that is called Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's a show over here, but I know several colleagues that have seen it overseas as well. But they pretty much do things completely off the cuff with absolutely no presentation, no preparation, no nothing. So it's like a table topic with only humorous things that are said. And the fact that you know the person is making up the joke on the spot seems to make the comedy a whole lot more funny. So a lot of people love improv. Some people say, I can never do improv, but that happens to be one of the styles that I work very well in. Next is topical. Nope, next is witty. Witty, wordplay, or clever. I find that quite a few Toastmasters actually fall into this category. They are witty when they do humor, or they use wordplay in their speeches, or they find clever ways of expressing humor. If you love dad jokes, this is your wheelhouse right here. This is exactly where you need to land. Wit, wordplay, and clever. For instance, oh man, golly, shoot. Oh man, okay, it doesn't matter. There was a joke that I'd written down and the joke didn't make it into my notes. I'm real sad because that joke was hilarious. And it was a dad joke. It was like, oh, why are celebrities always so cool? It's because they always have fans. That is a pun. That's clever. Come on, don't be so hard on me. It's wit, it's wordplay, it's clever, it's clever. But that is a style of wit, wordplay, or clever. You can Google dad jokes. Dad jokes are ridiculous. They are so crazy. So yeah, that is a style of humor. The next style happens to be topical. So topical is humor that is based on current events or trends. Everybody knows about Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live will take current events that are happening right now and they make skits out of them. So if you happen to be one that keeps up with the trends, keeps up with things that are going on right now, topical is your style of humor. And it's funny because it's typically something that you can immediately connect with the audience with. It's something that is going on right now. So toilet tissue, when toilet tissue was impossible to find 3 years ago, there were a ton of toilet paper jokes. Now it's gas. You see signs that say, you know, gas costs an arm, a leg, and the soul of your child. That's topical humor. So any humor that relates to right now, it is humor. It's a style that you can use. Next is, I think it's the one, observational. So observational is a way of poking fun at everyday life. It's things that are around you. So this is the person that can look at anything and make a joke out of it. It's different than improv, because improv is something that requires no preparation for. Improv is something that kind of comes off the cuff, and observation is I look at something and I observe, and then I make a joke based upon it. And if you go out to lunch with a friend and that friend looks around and they began to talk about people in the restaurant, make jokes, looking at, oh my gosh, why is she wearing white? It's after Labor Day. Or, oh my goodness, is he wearing a toupee? That's observational. It's funny. And people are using things around them in order to make jokes. I also tend to be observational on purpose. If you go to a comedy show and the comedian spends time talking to the people in the audience and asking, what's your name? What do you do for a living? That's observational. He's looking at things that are happening right there in front of him, and he is able to make jokes off of it. It's a style, and it's real effective when it works. Now, this next one, bodily. I don't like this one. And interestingly enough, at my last workshop, I was mentioning that I hate bodily. Bodily is where you use your body. This is different than physical. I don't really want to say what bodily things you can do that are choking, but burping, if noises come out of the other end, that's bodily, use your body. And I don't like those, hate those. And at that moment when I said it, my 23-year-old came to the door, said something, and burped during the last humorous workshop. And I was like, I told you I hate that. But they find it hilarious. For some reason, millennials find the bodily humor hilarious. And my son, who has a podcast, he's an actor, he uses this style of humor on his podcasts, sadly. Yeah. So anyway, another one that I don't like talking about, but I'll go ahead and throw it out there, is dark. There is a dark humor. And unfortunately, there's a lot of comedians and people that will make light of dark situations. Notice I didn't put that on the slide, but it is a form of humor. If you go out there, don't Google dark. I don't even want to say don't Google dark humor, but there are people out there that make money off of dark humor because there's an audience for it. There are people that like it, but it pokes fun at depressing situations or death or things like that. So I cannot stand that style of humor, but it does exist. So my hope is, as we have gone through these, you have thought about your style of humor. And in just a moment, when we go through Q&A, I'm going to see if everybody can figure out exactly what their particular style is. And you don't have to guess mine. It's improv, wit, all of them. I flow in and out of all of them except for bodily. I hate bodily. My gosh. Now we need to talk about timing. If you hear someone say there's no such thing as bad timing, not correct. Landing a joke, landing humor, landing something that will provide humor to the audience, it's very, very important. And I love the question that was asked during one of my other workshops. They say, how can you tell that? If we're in the middle of a speech or we're in the middle of a presentation, what does that look like with timing? And it really does depend upon the presentation. It depends upon the moment. And if the moment has come and gone and you found that, the humor didn't land, there's an opportunity to push it so that the moment is not lost. So timing is everything. It's very important that you think about a good moment where humor can be used. And you also need to pull back on it at times. So you see that I'm mixing it up. I have content, I have humor, and then I have more content, and then I have humor. If all you're doing is throwing humor in the face of your audience, well, then you're making it into a circus and you almost become a clown. You don't want this to be, clown-like. You really do want it to lend itself to keeping your audience engaged. You want to keep your audience energized with it. You want to create an atmosphere where it's relaxed, where we can, let our hair down. For those of us who have hair, if you don't have hair, guys, you can let your, whatever you have there, let it down, and you can enjoy yourself. And humor just seems to do that. I've been watching the faces of everybody in the room, and everybody seems to be very relaxed. They seem to be enjoying themselves. There seem to be smiles. Even those that weren't smiling at the beginning have been smiling at some point throughout. I watched that on purpose. And for those who have had their cameras out, I feel their laughter. I feel it from here, way over here in the States. I can feel their laughter. And usually when I say that, one or two people will giggle. So timing is everything. You see, I threw that in right at that moment just to make sure that everybody still smiled. So timing is everything. And even if it doesn't feel like it, there are things that you can do to make sure that you stay engaged with the humor. So timing is everything. Make sure you are thinking about that as you are including the humor in your presentation. Now, I want to talk about when you have to use humor at not so humorous of a time. You have to find humor that will first lighten the situation. So I've had to use humor during an HR presentation when they were going to let people go. And they asked me to come in and serve as someone who would provide some of the information, kind of the intro and some of the details, and then turn it over to them to talk to the employees that would, they were going to be getting severance packages that day, and they knew it. So coming into that situation, it's not going to be a situation that lends itself to humor. So this is kind of the faces that I saw out there. They're there because the boss is there, and they were smiling. They were like, okay, we'll smile because I still want my package. So we'll smile. But I could tell they were, it was sad as people were walking in. It was somber. No one was really talking to each other when they walked in. And then they went, thanks for coming. Over to you, Yolanda. And then I came in. So find humor that will lighten the situation. And when I say that, find ways of continuing to make them smile. In that way, I also, is it going to go down there to the one at the bottom? I hope so. It did not, but I'm going to go ahead and show it. And we'll talk about the dark, sarcastic, or self-deprecating humor in just a minute. But keep the humor lighthearted and focused at the positive or bright side. So the very first thing I said is anybody in here breathing? Everybody breathing? Everybody breathing? No, yes, everybody breathing. Well, that immediately got a laugh out of people. They were like, yeah, we're breathing, I guess. I never said this in another workshop, but I'll go ahead and say it. When I said anybody breathing, and one guy said, I wish I wasn't. And I said, yeah. Then, sir, you would not be here. I would be delivering a eulogy. Please don't do that to me. Well, now they're laughing now. They are now engaging with me. The guy went, I know what you mean. And I said, yeah. You sound like my kids when I asked them to wash dishes, or you sound like my kid when I asked them to clean out the garage, or you sound like my kid when I asked them to wash the car, or you sound like my kid when I asked them to do. So I'm naming off all these things about my kids. And he was kind of engaging with me for a minute. It was like, yeah, it sounds like when I asked my boy to, take out the trash. I said, exactly. The situation stinks is what you're saying. So I'm bantering back and forth with this guy, and everybody else is kind of laughing, and they start talking to me about things. So now it's lightened the mood quite a bit. The next thing I said after the whole, are you breathing, is, so now that you know that you're breathing, you can focus on things to be grateful for, because I know this is not an ideal situation. You're breathing, you're here. There's an opportunity to find another job. They're going to help you with that. There's an opportunity to become connected and closer to those that are also going through the same thing. How many of you have gone out to dinner with each other? Oh my gosh, nobody. Are you kidding me? That's a good looking man there. You saying that y'all haven't gone out with him? So I uplifted them from the tone that was so low and sad. They were inviting each other to dinner. I got invited out to a couple of lunches and dinners with these individuals, and I still stay connected with them. All of them ended up finding jobs, by the way. It's about 10, 11 people. They all ended up finding jobs. But they walked in very, very low and sad, but they walked out hugging each other and smiling. And by the time HR came and handed them their packages, they were still, of course, they were losing their jobs. But every single one of them were now looking at the bright side. They're going to help them find another job. They're going to give them money to make sure that they are okay. So focus on the positive and focus on humor that will lighten the situation. And don't use dark, sarcastic, or self-deprecating humor in this place, because in that way, it's just going to bring them lower. And that's not the place for that type of thing. And lastly, don't cheese. I wasn't in front of them going, y'all, this is going to be a great, you're going to laugh. Or I didn't do that. It was more of a smile. And it was a smile to let them know, I'm with you. I'm here. There were stories that were shared where, there was times when I didn't have a job, but I went out and found a job. So again, it was very, very lighthearted, turned out to go really, really great. Funerals are another example of moments where it may not be so positive, but again, finding ways to lighten the situation, finding ways that will keep them focused on the positive, bright side really does help in those situations. So they may not smile when you initiate this, and that's okay if they don't smile. Yes. Did I mention that I'm not used to being married and not used to a husband interrupting me for his cup? No, you're not. You're not sorry at all. They don't care about my life, yo. I'm sorry. Okay, so anyway, during these not so humorous times, they may not smile, and that's okay. There's like 80 cups in this house. Why did you need that cup? I have questions. Anyway, there's a lot of cups. Why did he need that cup? Can anybody tell me? How do husbands operate? We'll talk about that later. There are 100 cups in this house. Okay, anyway, back to this. They may not smile, and that is okay. They may not smile because the situation, again, is not a humorous situation. But as you continue with the lighthearted content and the humor, where you keep it very, very lighthearted, eventually they will smile. Eventually there'll be that glimmer of smile. Even if it's not here, it'll be a glimmer of a smile here in their hearts. And you can tell when a person may not be smiling here, but they're smiling here. Next, I need you to stay away from polarizing topics. If these individuals were losing their job, then I don't need to talk about my job. I don't need to bring my job up because they're losing theirs. That would be a polarizing topic. I don't need to ask the question about, how many people have worked, for the company for 20 years? Well, that's polarizing because some people are about to lose their job. So stay away from topics that will divide your audience when you have to deal with not so humorous topics. And I'm thinking of things like technical topics, topics about religion, topics about politics, topics like that. I had a Toastmaster that had to do a session on the Ukraine for his company and why they were pulling their interests out of the Ukraine. And they were running some of the things that they were going through. And they said, and I think I'm going to tell, a nice little joke about Russia and the Ukraine. Are you wanting to get fired? No, do not tell any jokes about the Ukraine or Russia right now, sir. Stay away from that. Tell a joke about anything else but Russia and the Ukraine. And we found some other funny things that, he could talk about, but that would have completely been polarizing, because there's always people that are for it and people that are against it. And people will be thinking about that so much they will disengage from your particular presentation. Always keep engagement with your audience as you are dealing with the not so humorous topic. You'll notice as I've been talking to you guys, even when I was talking about the HR thing, I kept eye contact with everyone in the room. And I made sure that I made eye contact with every single person in the room. And you've noticed, even as I've been doing my presentation, I may glance down here, but I'm coming right back to you guys. That engagement as you're doing the humorous, it is so critical. So even if you are on Zoom, keep your camera on, stay engaged with the audience while you are doing your humor. And lastly, you smile even if they don't smile. So even if you're not getting a smile from them, smile. I get to practice this all the time with my beautiful son. He's 13 and he is autistic. And there are days when he is in a mood. I do not say we have bad days. I always say we have good days and we have days. And there are some days where I will engage with him and he is not smiling at all. And if he's not smiling, I'll do things to make him smile eventually. You know, he's not smiling. I'll go, okay, well, I guess I'll just sit here then, and as you're not smiling, I'm growing older. In fact, your mom just turned 70, sitting here waiting for you to smile. Well, now he's giggling by this time. So you smile even if they don't smile, because if you are using humor, eventually, again, you'll get that smile either here or you'll get that smile there. So don't stop smiling. Next, Aruni. This is a kind of a favorite of mine because I always get those questions where people say, well, Yolanda, can I say this? If I'm doing humor, can I say this? So I'm going to talk about a couple of things that you probably should think about as you're determining whether or not it is a particular type of humor that you should use. So here's what I always tell my kids, and it's okay if you don't go to church. I need you to fit something in there. If you can't say it in church, I always say to my kids, don't say it. Do they listen to me? Not always, but it's likely to keep you safe if you could say it in a holy establishment. Or if you can't say it to your kids, mother's next, kids first, then your mother. Think about things. If you can't say it to your children, then you probably shouldn't say it on a stage. Some people say, well, I love this type of humor, so I want to be able to share it. Okay, well, if it's the audience for it, cool. But be very, very mindful, because people get offended extremely easily. I'm thinking nowadays, more so now than they've done in the past. So the humor that I do, I always say, if I can't say it to my kids and make them laugh, then I probably won't say it on a stage. If I couldn't say it to my mother, God rest her soul, without her picking up a bar of soap and saying to me, I'd like for you to meet me in the bathroom, then that's probably not something that I want to say to my audience. And of course, if I can't say it, if God himself would go straight to hell, God wouldn't say that. But if God looked at me and said, nah, no, I hate that humor, then it's probably not something that I would like to express. So use your own list here and just don't cross that line, because you want people to focus on laughing and smiling and not on being offended by the joke. Hence me saying, don't use the dark humor and don't use the bodily functions, because not everybody will get that humor. This cartoon depicts it perfectly. I heeded your advice about not saying anything controversial, but I didn't know some people would be offended by welcome. We don't want to be this guy. So in other words, let's just make sure that we're not dividing our audience. That's what it's about. We don't want to do that. So if you think it'll divide your audience in some way, it's best just not to say it. At all. Now, I would love to test this particular theory. What I usually do by now is I go to see if anyone has any questions, and then we're going to have a little bit of I like to call it Q&A, but I'm gonna grab some people. And this is not the time to go off camera. Do not, oh man, everybody's still there. I love you guys. So let us start with Jamal, because Jamal's smiling and Jamal has Garfield. I love Garfield. Good gosh. How you doing, Jamal?
I am doing good. It is so good to hear you, Yolanda, Senior Yolanda, as well as Lama. I was just telling myself, I'm just cooling off here. I was like running around, putting down fires, and this opportunity and the way you speak and the humor and the light humor, it's just making me smile and cool down. And such an amazing thing.
That is fabulous. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Jamal. Everybody's smiling at you for no reason. Oh my gosh. It's not Garfield either. It's you. It's your smile. It's you. Up and down, up and down. So thank you so much. I hope that the presentation has shown you how humor can be something that you can utilize no matter the situation. Did it do that for you? It did. Cool beans. And what about your style? What is your humorous style? Have you figured it out which one you are?
I think I'm more in the observational or improvised kind of person. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Because it's just coming off the cuff. I see it. Yes. Yeah. I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you, Jamal. I appreciate you. We're gonna go to Eric. How you doing, Eric? Yes, you, Eric. There's no other Erics. I'm sorry. It's you, Eric. It's you. Eric's like, holy crap. That's me.
That was me. Oh my goodness.
How you doing, Eric?
Yeah. Thank you. What is the question?
Yeah, I didn't even ask it yet. You're already like, it's just a crazy woman calling on me. Okay, it's a very simple question. Do you use humor when you get up to present?
I usually do because I've noticed that it helps a lot to on the engagement with people in the audience. And in fact, I just wanted to share something with you guys that I usually I said that with my wife, something when I knew that she was the one, is because she started telling me some jokes, but they were the jokes that didn't the no funny jokes.
Yeah.
So I was because I feel that that's my style as well. Yeah. And I mean there is a niche for that kind of humor. And when I found my wife, she started telling me jokes that they were so no funny, like the this chicken that you said. And I was like, oh my goodness, she's the one.
Yeah.
But yes, I enjoy it.
I love that, Eric. I married that as well. My husband thinks he is the funniest person on the planet. Dude, don't you dare tell him I didn't say I didn't say he was funny. If you ever made him say I said he was the funniest person on the planet. In fact, he could be listening to me right now. But the humor in everyday life that he shares with me, it's not funny, but it's hilarious. I know exactly what you mean. And
even when there are difficult times, or I mean, yeah, difficult times, and she's mad. I always throw a joke, and she's telling me, "You don't let me get mad too long."
I love it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to be mad much time. I mean, you can be mad for a while, but then you gotta move out. Yeah. Thank you for this speech. I enjoy it a lot. Even though I was late, I'm sorry, but I enjoy it a lot.
I wouldn't have even noticed that you were late if you hadn't said it, Eric. I thought that you were just on time. I mean, but it's cool. Thank you for being here. That's what matters. That is what matters. And Did anybody have a question before I, because I'm calling on people just to kind of gauge how people, felt if they use humor and if they now can kind of pick their style. So if anybody has a question, raise your hand as I go to Carol, and I ask Carol the same question. Hi, Carol, how you doing? I love when they don't expect me to call on them. And that's kind of why I call on them. Carol has to find me.
Hi,
I
I'm
love
Carol. Yes.
How you doing?
Yes,
How are
I'm
you,
Carol.
Carol?
Hi. I really love your part telling us how to do humor. I'm not a humorous person. I'm always serious, always serious. But now I'm learning how to be like you. Isn't that good? Let me share with you a story. It was just only yesterday evening. I was supposed to meet my friend.
Yeah.
And she didn't arrive at 5 o'clock. I was still waiting. I was supposed to hit my phone and give her a call.
Yeah.
Then the phone rang. She called. I'm outside. So, oh, you're outside. Okay. It's all right. I put down the phone. And she called again. I'm outside. I said, all right. I know you are not coming. You are outside. Okay. You can come a bit later. No, I'm outside. Where are you? Outside. And I looked at my gate and she was there.
Oh.
About 15 minutes. So we had the miscommunication. I'm outside. At the gate. She didn't say at the gate. She said, I'm outside somewhere, I thought. So in the end, I was so angry. I walked out and we started laughing. And this is also humor, right?
Yes.
How the misunderstanding.
Does anybody believe she's not funny? I mean, anybody, ma'am, you're funny. So I said, everybody is funny. She was like, I'm so not a funny person. But let me tell you a story, okay? And we're laughing with you, Carol. You're funny. Yeah. You're very, very funny. And I absolutely love the way that she used a story to bring humor into the situation. And his observational, it is relational, and it was perfect. Fantastic job, Carol. So Carol illustrated it perfectly.
Thank you.
Like perfectly. So I gotta go to Susan because of Susan's background. I wish I was there right now, Susan.
So do I. So do I.
Like, that is beautiful right now. But how you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was delightful.
Good.
I love to laugh. I am usually the recipient. My husband is the funniest fellow, 93 years old, and tells the longest jokes on earth.
Oh.
And the thing about his jokes is oftentimes he'll start telling a very serious story. And he starts to tell the story with a group of people, and they look at me and they go, is this another one of his jokes? And I usually have to answer as I don't know until the punchline because I don't know. And so I'm good at observing it. I'm the recipient of laughing. I did do the engaging humor path. So I'm finding little inklings of it where I can be, as you said, relaxed enough to play around. I may play around with words and I may choose that, but I'm not as sharp as some people who it's every other word. They've got something that's a pun. It's too much work. I try to go to little ones. I have one that I'll share with you that I saw today on Facebook, if you might.
Absolutely.
It says, are you sweating when you put gas in your car? Are you feeling sick when you have to go pay for it? Well, then you are suffering from coronavirus.
I feel really, really bad for wanting to laugh at that, but that's a
that's a dad bad.
That's a dad bad. Yeah. And I love your style of humor as well. Her style of humor, do you notice her style of humor? Yours is equally as easy to sit here and listen to and smile at because we know it's coming. We know the laughter is coming. So as you were talking about your husband, the humor commenced automatically from 93 to the long stories. I love your style of humor. And these are the styles of humor that will get a hit at the comedy show. I know quite a few comedians just like that. So I love your style of humor, Susan. Don't tell your husband I said that, because he would be like, oh, really now? When's the next Toastmasters meeting? I'll show her who's the best comedian up in here. But yeah,
He's the official joke master in 2 of the clubs I belong to.
okay, then I'm gonna need an official invitation to one of those 2 clubs, just so I can watch them, because now I'm curious. I'm like, curious. Got it.
Put your email in the chat. We'll talk.
Done deal. Done deal. Abhijit knows how to find me. I'm putting my chat like sincerely. And I mean this to everybody. Listen, humor is not as difficult as it feels. For people who think they are not funny, it may feel like a lot of work. Susan said puns are a lot of work, but she's found her wheelhouse. But humor, you see, humor is just natural. It's natural within us. We gotta laugh. We gotta laugh, y'all. It's so much craziness. I can't spell shining. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I got it. There's so much craziness going on. We need humor. We need humor all around. So as I'm putting my email in there, are there any other questions? Like, I could truly go round robin if we have time. I don't know how much time we have, because I forgot to ask Abhijit how long I had. My bad.
We have 5 minutes more.
You say that like it's an hour, Abhijit. That's 5 minutes is no time. We're done, is what you're saying, Abhijit. We're finished. That's what you're saying. We're done. Okay. I gotta ask Ashish. She's been smiling at me the whole time. Can I ask him? I'm a married woman, but he's smiling at me. Hey, Ashish, am I saying your name right? Ashish, is that right? Ashish? It looks like Ashish. Ashish?
Yes, hi. Hello,
First
everyone.
of all, I thought you were a still for half of my presentation. I have an attitude because you didn't move, and I thought you were a picture. Then you moved. So let me start there. But how you doing? I have to say hi, because you've been standing in that same stance the entire time. How can you do your meetings like that? Like, down. Is that comfortable? Like, doing it like that comfortable? It's comfortable?
Well, I was doing my meditation just before this, so that's why I'm sitting in this posture. So,
I got you. I got you. That is important. I pray in a pretzel. I get it. I get it. Well, I used to pray in a pretzel. Now I'm 50.
Thanks a lot for your presentation. It was really delightful to hear you.
Thank you very much. And we can tell he has natural humor as well. I see it. You think you're funny? Do you think you're funny?
Not really, but hopefully I'll try and try to learn it. Yeah.
I think you have some humor in you. People who have seen him, has he had humor? Anybody at all think that he's humorous at all? Okay, thank God, because if nobody said yes, that would not have landed well for the end of this presentation, but they're nodding and saying yes. So with 5 minutes left, if anyone has any additional questions, please let me know. But you guys have been like ridiculously fun tonight. This looks like a crowd that loves to use humor. I don't care what they say. Like the people that I've come to and said that they don't do humor, they do humor. They do humor. So, and thank you, Susan. My children say that I should never laugh again because I laugh loud in malls and stuff like that. So,
Yolanda, I had one question.
absolutely.
So I'm still to figure out what is my, what would be my style. So how can I develop a style, or do I need to try it out, different styles, and to figure out which is my style?
So every person has a natural style, and then there are 1 or 2 other styles that people kind of operate in depending on the environment that they're in. So mine is just naturally improv or wit. It's just natural. It comes out of a hat. For you, when you're around your family and you tell funny stories, when you tell funny jokes, you need to think about where you are. when you are telling those funny stories and jokes. Every single person on here, when they're around their family or their spouses or their kids, they naturally want to make them smile. It's just natural. So when you are in front of your family, your friends, your kids, whomever, and the next time something comes out of your mouth and it makes them laugh, look at each and every one of those styles and think, where was I? If you do things with your body, you do hand gestures or facial expressions, it's physical. If you tell jokes that are witty, dad type jokes is definitely the wit. If you don't break a smile, but things that are coming out of your mouth are still funny, it's definitely deadpan. So find where the humor lies, and it's natural. And I automatically know that you are over there making them smile. I know you are. Yeah, exactly. Because you're smiling now. And when you're telling me about the meditation, even, you smiled. You could have said, hey, look, lady, this is serious business over here, meditating. You didn't, you smiled because you wanted that to be a moment of laughter. So yeah, that's how you find it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I
Any
have a
other?
question. Yolanda.
Yes. Hey, Ragu. Ragu. Tell me how you say your name. It can't be Ragu. That's spaghetti. Is Ragu really?
I know. The name has been mispronounced so much, so many places and so much that I had to come up with a speech. What's the name? Probably for next time for you to listen.
Please. I need to hear that speech. I need to hear it. But yes, did you have a question? I need to hear it.
The humor is not equal for everyone. Rather, the sense you need to adapt to the audience, maybe based upon the region, maybe based upon the type of audience, whether it's technical, non-technical, everything. So what are the different techniques that we can use to adapt, especially when we have to improvise, adapting to the audience, connecting with the audience?
I tell people to prepare in advance for your audience. So if you know that you're going to do technical presentations, go ahead and start looking and Googling some funny jokes. Go ahead, look up some memes. Go ahead, look up some funny sayings. Go ahead, look up some funny things, and just kind of have them sitting to the side for those presentations. So in other words, don't wait till you're on the ground to try to figure it out then. Go ahead and prepare for it. I have a notebook. I say notebook, it's on my laptop and it's on my iPad, but I have a file that is strictly funny things that I've seen, funny things that I've heard. I have a meme repository that I keep. So I would say, if you know that you are, say you're a photographer and you know that you do a ton of presentations on photography, some technical, some not technical, go ahead and prepare in advance. So prepare in advance so that you'll have them there at your fingertips to utilize. So I have four different humorous presentations. And then now I have a fifth one because the one that I did last week, they asked me to tailor it. And that's the one that I did tonight. So I have several different humorous presentations for different topics that they may want me to talk about. When engaging with the audience, I have 3 of those, and then I have a 4th. So I already have presentations that are tailored to particular kinds of audience. I have a master's degree in computer science. Nobody knows that because I never talk about it, but I have a master's degree in computer science. I'm a techie. I already have a presentation that I've done for a couple of college students, mostly millennials, but college students, where I had to explain to them what I do for my job at Shell. I work for Shell Oil. And that was a very technical presentation, but I already had memes that were related to kids and how they view, cell phones and technology and things like that. So build a repository now. That way, all you have to do is pull the material out when you're called to do that particular kind of presentation. And if you're thinking, I still have no idea how to do that, get with me offline. I've helped many people kind of start building one. I had a guy who was a lawyer, and he said, there's nothing funny about the law. And I said, everything is funny about lawyers and the law. Like you couldn't get away from humor as a lawyer if you tried to get away from humor as a lawyer. So we built 3 different repositories for him: serious humor, funny humor, and offensive humor about lawyers. And he has had to use it and use every single one of them in presentations. I did not help him with the offensive ones. He did that himself, but I helped him with the other 2. He came up with the offensive one all by himself. I wouldn't tell those jokes, but he thought it was hilarious. Good gosh. Anyway, I hope that answered the question.
Yes, thank you.
You're very
So
welcome.
next, one more question.
Yes.
When it is dark humor, or rather when it is that you want to bring topics like politics into your speeches,
Mhm.
or something that you face hardship due to certain kind of thing, how can you bring that in? Add humor, more humor to it, rather than just a seriousness. So how can you work like that? So what techniques do you suggest?
I have to, like I said in there, it has to be lighthearted. If you choose to tackle politics, or you choose to tackle the topics that you know are going to be polarizing, and you know that people are not necessarily going to like it. Like, I'm a Christian, and I talk to non-Christian crowds all the time. I have Bible studies, and I have atheists and Buddhists and Muslims and everybody that comes into my Bible studies because of the way that I present the material. They're coming in there to watch me more so than listen to me, but they end up getting knowledge anyway. So you have to present it in a way that is lighthearted and not in your face. So I'm not on the stage saying, hey, listen, my God is better than your. It's not that kind of party. It's lighthearted, like, hey, I think we need to get, my God and all your people that you worship together, and we need to just tell them to eradicate COVID. Who's with me? I'll start the letter. How do you say no COVID in Buddha? That is lighthearted. Everybody is laughing by that time. They don't give a crap that I'm a Christian and they're Buddhists at that point. It's lighthearted humor. So if you have to do politics, if you must, stay middle of the road and make sure that you make humorous points that will capture both sides. And if you have to do points, make sure you do points that capture both sides. Don't just lend itself to one. So if Trump, so glad Trump is gone, but Trump, when Trump was president over here, there were just people that loved him. I don't know what they were on. And if you love Trump, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about them. But I didn't understand why people loved Trump. But there were people that I loved that absolutely loved Trump. And there were times when I had to talk about Trump as we were doing speeches, or they asked me to help them out with presentations, and we would talk about the president. And the president was Trump at the time. And we had to do presentations for people who hated Trump. So the humor that we used reached both sides. And the humor was not strictly against Trump. There was some humor that was against the other people. It was against Hillary, or it was against Obama. So we kept it very level so that it would not polarize the audience and have one side of the audience going, we love that, and the other side going, we hate you, hate them, hate the jokes, don't know why you're here. And it always worked out. Whether they loved or hate Trump, whether they loved or hated Obama, whether they loved or hated Biden. I did a presentation with my job this morning, a fun activity. And there was one of the questions on there was, would you rather have lunch with Abraham Lincoln or the current president? And a lot of people said Abraham Lincoln. And I went, so you would rather have lunch with a dead guy than the president that's alive? And of course, people were laughing. But that's the type of humor that kept it lighthearted and kept everybody's energy up. And then some people were like, well, when you say it that way, you know, maybe we should choose Biden, you know, instead of Abraham Lincoln. And for another group, don't do this unless you know the group. Don't do this. But when I asked the same question and a bunch of people were saying Abraham Lincoln, I said, are you saying that you want to bring slavery back? Why are we doing Abraham Lincoln? Okay, in the crowd, it was okay. People thought it was lighthearted. They laughed at it. But I can't do that joke in a mixed crowd. I can't, because some people will take slavery very seriously. My people may take it very seriously, but the way I said it, it was okay. Nobody got offended by it. So you got to be real careful. Pick and choose your battles. Please pick and choose your battles. But just don't polarize your audience. That is the goal. Don't polarize them with your humor. And don't offend them with your humor, because you want them to invite you back. And I saw Eric's hand. Eric, did you have a question?
Yeah, I've noticed that there are some people, they talk about politics, but they make a joke from one side and from the other side, so you keep engaged both parties. You know, it's like you're being neutral because you're making fun of both sides. So I think that I've noticed, because that's a really dangerous topic, but I've noticed that there are some people that they are very brave and they come up with something like that and they approach it that way. And I think that is very, very, very smart.
And it helps. It
Yeah.
really does help. That balance is critical. It is so crucial. It is so crucial to keep that balance. Without that balance, I'm telling you, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel one side of your audience. You're going to feel heat, and you just don't want that smoke. What you want is everybody having fun and engaging in your presentations. Everybody. So it's just best to stay level. Stay level.
Yolanda,
Yes.
humor engages audience.
Mhm.
I just signed up after completing 3 paths. I signed up to do engaging humor.
Yes.
And the speeches that I've given, this is what happens.
What
The
happened?
timer forgets to time me.
Oh,
He's
she's funny.
engaged.
She's funny. Okay. Wow. I have been watching you the entire time, and something just told me, and I'm not just saying this because you're sitting there beautiful, like legit. I knew immediately. So you're saying that they forgot to time you because
Not once, 5 times, 5 different speeches. They're engaged. It's 5 to 7 minute speech and it's going on till 9. The light doesn't turn on. Suddenly it comes out red. What did I do?
That means you engaged them so much that they weren't paying attention to the timer. And that has happened to me in a division contest where I started the speech with, when my mother was about to hold me in her arms, she heard the doctor say 3 words that would change her life forever. No, it wasn't, it's a girl, or she's beautiful, Mom. It wasn't even anything funny like, did that hurt? No. 3 words that the doctor uttered was, she's not breathing. And as I got into the speech, I noticed that I was not seeing a green light to save my life. And then it went yellow. Like, and I wasn't even halfway done. I mean, I'm sitting there talking, having a good time, and it went yellow. And then 30 seconds after that, it went red. Thank God for the 30-second grace period that they give you when they forget time. But ma'am, that means you need to be in every humorous speech contest that pops around, or international even, if they're forgetting to time you. But that means that was beautifully done. And you should coach others on how to engage humorously. That's what that means. That's what that means. So there's humor right there, people. Humor right there. And I would say, show us an example of your humor. I don't know if we're over It feels like it's been longer than 5. That was the longest 5 minutes of my life. I don't mind. I have all night. No, I don't. I have a husband now. I can't do that. But I have as long as you guys need me. Are we good? I love it when Abhijit speaks on mute. Are we good on time or are we over? I can't tell.
No, we are good. We are good.
We're good? Nice. You said 5 minutes. Am I crazy? You said 5. You did. I'm here. I'm cool. Anybody else have any other questions? I'm cool. I'm good. Daphne's laughing. She, I know Daphne. I'm just making sure I'm not, wasting you guys' time. That's what I'm making sure of. And they're recording. They're gonna be like, this girl is wacky. Okay, it's all right though. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. But any other questions? Any other questions?
Doris, Ayushi, all those you have cameras on, just ask anything. I know Doris is really funny, so I'm pretty sure she may have some questions.
Yes. Ayushi, any questions?
No, actually, I'm a dead serious person. I am not funny at all. Just following what Toastmasters teaching me and working on the humorous manual, humorous speaking manual. Then I learned, and I also observed from other participants in the humorous speech contest. Then gradually I am practicing it. So the easiest thing that I used was to play with words. For example, I was saying, my mother is a never-minded person because her mind is never with her when she drives.
You're deadpan, ma'am. You're deadpan. You are deadpan, like through and through. Through and through.
Yeah, or I would say, people say that I'm very dependable because whatever they ask me, my answer is always, it depends.
It depends. Oh, I'm using that for the rest of the night. Oh my gosh. She's gonna me. And I'm pointing at you, Doris, because I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, but I'm learning. That's why I'm here tonight. And thank you so much for educating me with all those different ways to be funny.
Absolutely. And you are definitely funny. So you no longer have to say, I am not a funny person. You are hilarious with your style of humor. You are hilarious. So keep that wit and please do not change your style. Like, do not change your style. People assume they have to be haha falling over funny, like, laughing all the time. People have been laughing since you started talking, Doris. In fact, when you said I'm not funny, people went ha 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 ha. They knew you were funny. They knew you were funny. So she's like, I'm not, but thank you, short lady. I'm not funny. It's okay. It's all right.